I'm Tracy Austin, your host of the People Strategy Podcast. This show provides interviews with organizational leaders and ongoing coaching experiences that highlight elevating people in organizations through a people strategy roadmap.
Lean on your people's strengths. Lean into your own strength and work together. I think that's where the magic is. I know it's not earth-shattering, but it's been proven time and time again and again in my career, and I've seen it in fabulous organizations.
Welcome to the People Strategy Podcast. My name is Tracy Austin, and today we are going to dive into trends and best practices in talent management and organizational development. So join me as I chat with industry experts, HR leaders, and business innovators to uncover strategies that can elevate your people and your business. And we always have gratitudes, and we're so grateful for many of our past guests. But today we want to talk about Farah Rafael. Farah is an attorney, and her podcast was about honest, direct, and timely leadership. And Katie and I today are going to talk a little bit about honest, direct, and timely leadership. So it seemed like a great one to tie in. So if you're curious about that from a legal perspective, you can check out Farah's episode in the show notes. We want to welcome Katie Spahnie to the show today. Katie is the Vice President of Human Resources and Operations for Westfield Bank. She's an accomplished human resource professional with comprehensive experience across diverse industries. And my favorite thing about my conversation so far with Katie, she has a way of really looking at processes and project management to ensure that her people have exactly what they need to be successful. And Katie was introduced to us from John at Willery, who you heard from last week. So John and I chatted a little bit about project management and key people strategies and really how we can best utilize technology to support our people to perform their best. And of course, this episode was brought to you by Elevated Talent Consulting's team retention program. And we do have a team retention program starting again in November. And this program is for people leaders that are really looking to implement strong programs to support their team and retention, such as talent pathway plans, and really, turn up the dial on one-on-one conversations so that staff really understand what winning looks like. Katie, have you ever had those conversations with your managers about ensuring that their people actually know what they need to do to be successful?
Every day.
It's one of those things. It's like, how do we do this? And so often I find that our people leaders, you notice I'm using people leaders versus managers here, are like, why should I talk to you about it, HR, unless there's a problem?
Right. Some managers are like that.
Yeah. And it's like, well, we can stop it before it starts. We just have to have clear communication. So that is what we chat about in our team retention program. So that information is in the show notes as well. So with that, Katie, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Tracy. I love being here. Appreciate the opportunity to speak to you.
Absolutely. So you stepped into a really fun and interesting role at Westfield Bank as they were in the middle of a transition. You want to chat a little bit about that?
Sure, I would love to. A few years ago, Westfield Bank had started a process of separating from our parent company, Ohio Farmers Insurance Company, also known as Westfield Insurance. And the goal of the separation was to allow the bank to stand on its own as an organization and to grow and develop in a lot of faster pace than it would as if it would have been still under the coverage of the insurance company. So it's been a very strategic move and very successful at that. And at the time I joined the Westfield Bank, they were in process of the finalizing the last, and I would argue the most important part of the separation process. It's dividing the people management functions, which included the payroll, benefits, total rewards, training, learning development, policies, procedures, all of the above, everything that affects every employee every day. So that was an exciting moment for me to jump in and take the reins and help with that process.
Yeah, absolutely. And with those, there's amazing opportunities of going, all right, what do we love that we want to bring with us? And what do we not want to bring with us? And, whether it's a merger and acquisition or, that divestiture, culture is that key thing that seems to pop up over and over and over. So how did you weave culture into this, and why was this important to culture?
Very good question, because I think it starts and ends with culture for any organization. I'm a firm believer in that. And to that point, Westfield Bank always had a really great culture. And that's what actually led me to that organization, to join that organization when I learned more about it, and I was considering my options at that time. So it was absolute number one priority to keep the culture. Whenever you make a change in anything at all, when you communicate it, you always have to, as you mentioned before, assure that something will stay the same, right? What are we changing, but what are we keeping? And what we're keeping, it's better be the best thing ever, right? And for us, it was our culture. So that was very important for the leadership team, for all the employees, and for the change management network that we deployed to help us change. So the culture is what's driving every decision and behind every strategy at Westfield Bank. And it was very important to continue that.
Amazing. And I'm curious, how do you define culture? Like, what are those key tenets of it?
Absolutely. It's probably very similar to how it's defined in any of the dictionaries and books, right? It's a combination of shared values and beliefs. But also, I would add, it's a shared practices. It's what every manager, every employee, every leader does on daily basis. It's not just what's written in our big, nice poster about values that we operate by. It's how we live them. It's how we demonstrate them on a daily basis to our employees and to ourselves and to our teams. How do we deliver that, and how we live those values? I think that's what's important.
Yeah, I love that. And I ask this question so often to podcast guests because we always get these nuanced answers, right? And, we define culture as the behaviors that we allow or don't allow in the organization. And so often, it's like when we're allowing the negative behaviors because there's a fear of accountability, well, guess what? That becomes the culture, unfortunately. So, yeah.
It's absolutely, like I said, culture is in everyday life. It's not something that's written. It's not something we talk only about. It's something we will even breathe.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So when you came on, there was a lot of changes happening. So you had your normal day-to-day, director of ops job or VP of ops job. I apologize. So there's so much within that. So you got a day job, and then you have this additional job of let's facilitate and shepherd all of these changes.
Yeah, that was a fun time.
We thrive under pressure, don't we? Like, these are the fun things.
Right. Yes, absolutely. And that was helpful. That it was a great thing happening, right? It's not something we are dismantling or something hard news we have to deliver. We're actually building something exciting, something's beneficial, something that's going to propel everyone forward. So that was the wind beneath my wings in that change where you had essentially 2-3 jobs going on at the same time. So,
yeah. And so within those changes, you and I have probably both worked in organizations where changes are happening, and all of a sudden we get this undercurrent of like the murmurs of why is this happening or what's going on. And so when you look at how you went through that change, communication, I know, is a huge piece of that to really ensure like, hey, this is the wind beneath the wings. These are those things that are so exciting to happen. How did you incorporate communication and really keeping employees in the loop?
Great question, Tracy. Again, clear communication and clear strategy and open door policy is very essential to our culture. So that's been in place for a very long time. So when the change were happening and a big change was coming, everything was communicated right as it was happening, as the decisions being made, they've been communicated. So we specifically to avoid and eliminate this uncertainty and the fear that could result from the uncertainty and any anxiety from the employees. So and eliminate those, rumblings, right? When there's lack of information, people will make up facts, right? Because people are striving for knowledge, they need to know, and we respected that. So anytime there was a decision made, the system changed, the process changed, the new policy implemented, the new process implemented, we were sure to communicate it on a very timely, very accurate basis. So and we always kept the door open for any questions. So we had town halls, we had email communication, we had Change Champions Network. And again, everyone's door was open for any questions on one-on-one.
Amazing. And that was the question I was going to ask, is how did you communicate it? So you had the email and open door, and then this Change Champion Network. I'm really curious, what is that?
That was a fantastic group of people that we asked to step in from various departments, various roles. They weren't selected or appointed by their title. We asked them specifically because we wanted to have a diversity of opinion, diversity of thought and ideas in that group. So people came from all kinds of different levels of the company, from entry level to leadership, from all kinds of different departments, different titles, people managers, not people managers. So quite a bit of diversity there. And that was our goal. We wanted to hear from all aspects, from all segments of the organization. So the goal of the Change Champions Network was to help us think through some processes, think through some approaches to solving this problem or this problem, but also thinking about communication. What is the best way to deliver it? Are we missing something? Are we hearing some questions on their end that we might not hear yet? So, and once it all has been discussed, decided, the Change Champions Network, that will help us promote whatever the change is, whatever the new process is, whatever the new policy is, how it works, and they were aware of the details of it, so they could help answer questions as well.
Amazing. So I'm curious, for those Change Champions, you said they weren't appointed by any kind of level. How did they become Change Champions?
Some were volunteered. We asked for volunteers, but some were suggested by their managers because they were respected in their respectful teams, or they are great contributors. And so just a variety of different ways they come to be.
Yeah, absolutely. And, what I find so interesting about these types of programs is it gives an opportunity for someone to learn about and step into leadership without having a formal title on it.
100%. Absolutely. I firmly believe that you don't have to have a title to be a leader.
Oh,
it's
100%.
Not a requirement.
Right.
Any one of us is a leader.
Absolutely.
And
absolutely.
To your point, absolutely. That was an opportunity to demonstrate their leadership.
Yes.
Not to become a leader, but to demonstrate it.
And for some of them to probably see they had abilities that they didn't know were there because someone saw them bigger than they saw themselves.
Very good point. Very good point.
So, I love this program and kind of how you've talked about it and used this within your change management process. And so kind of jumping into change management, because that's essentially what we're talking about, is what did you learn about change management after going through such a significant process within your organization?
Well, I've always had a firm belief that change is inevitable. And, there are a couple sayings out there that prove true time and time again, that change is the only constant, right? Change is the only one we can count on. But also, I know that change itself is not painful. Resistance to change is. That is my firm belief. And I think the more we adapt to what's changing around us, the quicker we adapt to it, the better off we are and the happier we are.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. Only resistance to changes. Isn't it amazing how many things we resist when we step back and actually look at it and go, I would have just accepted that because I can't change it. Would have been much easier.
Absolutely. But change is scary, Tracy.
It is.
No matter what kind of change that is, it's scary. So I totally understand that. That's why I try to come back to, even on personal level, I always try to come back to, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. I just need to find the positive in it and stick with it and see where it takes us. And that's what we were deploying, this kind of a strategy and approach we were deploying in organizational change as well. It's going to be great. A result is going to exceed our expectations. There is absolutely light at the end of the tunnel, and we'll get there together.
Yeah. And then the flip side of that is, well, what's the worst that could happen? It's like, okay, I guess it's not that bad.
Exactly. On the other side, it wasn't so bad.
Right. So if the worst that could happen isn't that bad, now we're not resisting it so much.
Absolutely.
I love it.
It's all good now.
So good. Now, throughout this, you said you were doing 3 jobs at once. You're brand new to an organization. None of us are perfect at everything. And partnership is so incredibly important, and having that team that you can count on. And I know that you worked with Willery, and we talked with John last week. So for our listeners, if you have not yet heard, the podcast from last week, give that a listen. But when you look at that partnership with Willery, what made that partnership so powerful?
Probably the complementary set of skills and knowledge. As you said, we're not experts in everything. And even if we're one person, right? Or there's only so many hands and heads to go around. So to have someone who is focused specifically in the area where we could use some help was tremendous. And Willery was 100% absolutely the right partner for that. I've known John for a very long time, so I've worked with him for a long time. Knowing that Willery was already a partner in this process with Westfield Bank made my coming on board is even much more exciting. I knew that the bank absolutely made the right decision. So that's reassured to me that they are on the right path. They have clear vision and good strategy, and they can make good decisions, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So that was crucial for the success of the change management program. Again, someone who is truly just focused on that one job, while most of us are carrying 3 or 4 on a daily basis, and having holding our hands in the process, having any task, not too small, not too large for them, having that handled for us was very, very helpful.
Amazing. And that goes to, business so much, just with everything is based on those relationships, and that relationship, with the bank, or the relationship with John or whatnot, is so incredibly important with that. And so when you look at kind of the change management process, the partnership, having the right people, the right role, and that's one thing with consultants that's so great, is focused on one thing over, many different organizations, which means there's not the learning curve. They've got that thing down and can do it at such a high level, which is such a gift.
It is, absolutely is. And we relied on their knowledge of how others do things. So we wanted to see, what are the best practices? What are other bigger or smaller or similarly situated organizations with great cultures are doing? Are we up to par? We want that high standard, and they helped us with that.
Amazing. And I know one of the key strategies you were really looking at is, how do we attract and retain key talent throughout this process, and really, do that after the process has also ended, as we step into a new entity. So when you look at, this process, what is one support that you found that really allowed you to attract and retain those key people?
I'm, at the risk of repeating myself, I say it's culture and communication.
I love it.
Clear, and that trust in leadership, trust in what we say, we do what we say, and we deliver what we promised. Because considering, industry ups and downs, markets up and downs, having to pivot here and there due to extenuating circumstances. In the end, we were there with the employees, we were communicating, and we were strongly adhering to the values and the culture that Westfield Bank is known for.
Amazing. Amazing. And what did you learn as an operations and HR leader about yourself throughout this process?
I'm not sure if I learned anything new, but it was a great reaffirmation for me that the best work is done in teams. The best work is done when you have surrounded yourself with people that are knowledgeable, supportive, and helpful. So leaning in and leaning on is probably the best lesson that I have reaffirmed for myself.
Amazing. And there's been many wins throughout your time at Westfield Bank, but what's a current people win that you're really proud of?
I would say our 5th year winning the Top Workplace Awards and the North Coast 99 Awards. Both of those are based on the employees' opinions, on the employees' survey that is conducted by the third party. So that award is won by what our people say about us. So I think it's a great win for the organization when people are so dedicated and engaged, and they carry that culture outward, and they're not afraid to talk about it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's great, such great employee value propositions that allows you to continue to attract the best people, for sure. The fun little cycle, right, that goes around and around.
It absolutely does. It starts with it and it ends with it.
Yeah.
And
all right, I have 2 fun questions for you now. Are you ready?
Ready. Let's do it.
What is on your personal bucket list?
Personal bucket list is travel the world. I am a traveler. I love my suitcase. I love seeing other places, cultures, learn from other people, just enjoying the different views of the world, both physically and internally. So that's my bucket list. I have a long list of places I want to still see.
Well, you just got back from Iceland.
I did, and Greenland.
Amazing.
And I have a certificate of crossing the Arctic Circle.
Oh, that's fun. I didn't know that was a thing.
Something unique. Cool. I didn't know it existed either, but now I have it.
All the fun things we learned. And what's on your professional bucket list?
Ooh, great question. I would like one day to be a speaker at one of the national conferences on HR topics.
Amazing. John's was the same. John wanted to either be the starting keynote or the ending keynote at a national SHRM conference. So maybe we need to work on,
Yeah, that is both terrifying and exhilarating goal for me. So, but I do believe that throughout my career, I accumulated quite a bit of knowledge that I would love to share if it can help someone grow in their career. Like a long time ago, somebody helped me grow.
Absolutely. Well, my guess is, Katie, it's not even a guess. I know you are going to support a number of HR folks all across the country just by being on our podcast today and, chatting with me, as our, listeners are mostly small business owners and HR folks really looking to elevate in their careers. So, and we'll see what we can do to get you on a stage and travel the world. And that's why I love to ask that question from an engagement perspective. That what's your personal bucket list and what's a professional bucket list? Is there a way we can tie those things together? That's always fun. It's like a fun game to play with employees of like, what do you want to do? And how do we do it?
I love that idea, Tracy. I will have to steal that.
Please do. Please steal it. Let me know how it goes. So as we close, what's one kind of people strategy or insight from our conversation today that you would love to just kind of hit on again for our listeners as a potential takeaway?
I don't know if it's one, but I would say...
All right, 3, 4, 5,
Absolutely. I would say, again, repeating it, lean on your people's strengths. Lean into your own strength. and work together. I think that's where the magic is. I know it's not earth-shattering, but it's been proven time and time again and again in my career, and I've seen it in fabulous organizations. That strategy working very well.
Amazing. Thank you so much for being with us today. And be sure to check out Katie in the show notes, along with, again, our gratitude to you for listening. And if this was impactful to you, we would love to have your 5-star reviews on wherever you listen to your podcast. Have a great day.
Thank you so much for listening today. I'd love to connect with you. If you'd like to connect, you can find me on LinkedIn at Tracy, TRACI Austin, and at our website at elevatedtalentconsulting.com. If you'd love to learn more about our process, please reach out to us. And again, thank you so much for listening and sharing your feedback with us through a review. Have a fantastic day.